They say history is written by the victors, but what if history itself is incomplete, or worse, intentionally obscured? Imagine for a moment that the story of humanity is not one of slow, steady progress, but a series of leaps, falls, and secrets. Secrets buried beneath the sands of time, hidden in plain sight, or scattered across ancient monuments that defy logic. Consider this. Why do so many ancient cultures describe gods descending from the heavens? Why do they speak of celestial beings imparting knowledge about agriculture, metallurgy, and astronomy? And why do their most sacred sites align so perfectly with the stars, almost as if they were built with guidance from those who came from above? Let's start with the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing for over 4,500 years, this structure isn't just a tomb, it's an enigma. Its base is a near-perfect square, aligned with true north to within a fraction of a degree. Its height, when multiplied by 43,200, matches the polar radius of Earth. These numbers aren't random, they're mathematical codes. Codes that hint at a knowledge of the planet's dimensions long before modern science. And then there's Puma Punku in Bolivia. This ancient site boasts stones so precisely cut that they fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle without mortar. Some weigh over 100 tons. Even with today's technology, we'd struggle to replicate such precision. So how did a people with no written language and no known tools of metallurgy achieve this? It doesn't stop there. In Peru, the Nazca lines stretch for miles across the desert, massive geoglyphs of animals, plants, and geometric patterns. But here's the catch. They're only visible from the sky. Why would an ancient civilization, without the ability to fly, create something no one on the ground could fully see? Were these massive etchings messages, signals, or perhaps landing strips? Now let's venture into the myths. The Sumerians, one of humanity's earliest civilizations, tell of the Anunnaki, gods who descended from the heavens to shape humanity's destiny. According to their texts, these beings didn't just visit. They came with a purpose, to mine Earth's resources, particularly gold. Could this explain the obsession with gold across ancient cultures? From the temples of Egypt to the golden treasures of the Americas, it's almost as if humanity was programmed to revere this metal. But for what, and for whom? The mysteries deepen in India, where ancient Vedic texts describe flying machines called vimanas. These weren't poetic metaphors, they were detailed, mechanical descriptions, blueprints almost. These same texts speak of catastrophic wars, with weapons so devastating they sound eerily like nuclear bombs. One passage from the Mahabharata describes a weapon that caused columns of smoke and flame as bright as 10,000 suns and reduced entire cities to ash. And then there's the biblical account of Ezekiel's vision, a wheel within a wheel, descending from the heavens, engulfed in fire. Is this a divine encounter, or an ancient attempt to describe advanced technology? But here's the real question. If these accounts were mere myths, why do they echo across nearly every culture on Earth? From the Hopi legends of the Star People to the Dogon tribe's inexplicable knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye until modern telescopes confirmed it, these stories seem to hint at something far greater than coincidence. Now consider this. What if the extraterrestrial theory isn't the only explanation? What if humanity itself was once far more advanced than we've been led to believe? Imagine a world tens of thousands of years ago, long before recorded history, a golden age where civilizations mastered technologies that rival our own. But then, disaster struck. A comet, a flood, or some other cataclysm wiped them from existence, leaving behind only fragments, mysterious structures, anomalous artifacts, and legends passed down through the ages. The evidence for this lost civilization is just as compelling. Plato's Atlantis, a thriving island society destroyed in a single day and night. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a 12,000-year-old temple built by hunter-gatherers who, supposedly, lacked the ability to construct such marvels. And the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek device that functions as a sophisticated astronomical computer, 2,000 years ahead of its time. The idea of lost civilizations isn't just a fringe theory. Mainstream scientists acknowledge the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a cataclysmic event around 12,800 years ago that caused widespread destruction. Could this have been the moment when humanity's greatest achievements were erased, leaving us to start over from scratch? So, where does the truth lie? Are we the descendants of extraterrestrial visitors, shaped and guided by their advanced knowledge? Or are we the survivors of a forgotten epoch, clawing our way back to the heights our ancestors once knew? This isn't just about history. It's about identity, about understanding who we are, where we came from, and what secrets the past holds for our future. And the deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. The answers are out there, hidden in the ruins, the myths, and the stars. By the end of this journey, you won't just be questioning history, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about humanity itself. Let's begin with the monuments themselves, silent witnesses to a past that refuses to conform to our understanding of history. These structures aren't just impressive feats of engineering, they are puzzles, riddles that defy explanation even in the age of modern science. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. This ancient wonder has stood for over 4,500 years, yet it continues to baffle architects, engineers, and historians alike. Constructed with over 2 million limestone and granite blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, the pyramid rises to a height of 481 feet, perfectly aligned with the cardinal points of the compass. And here's where it gets truly mysterious. The pyramid's position isn't random. It lies at the exact center of Earth's landmass, with its sides mirroring the golden ratio. Even more intriguing is its astronomical alignment. The Great Pyramid is aligned with Orion's Belt, a constellation associated with the Egyptian god Osiris, the lord of the underworld. How did an ancient civilization, with no telescopes or satellites, achieve such precise alignments? And why would they go to such lengths unless it held some profound significance? Mainstream archaeologists tell us it was built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu. But here's the problem. Not a single mummy, artifact, or inscription has been found inside the pyramid. Could it be that this structure wasn't a tomb at all, but something far more advanced, perhaps a power plant or a device for harnessing Earth's energy? Some theorists suggest it operated like Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, using the Earth's natural vibrations to generate wireless electricity. Far-fetched? Maybe. But how else do we explain the pyramid's anomalous electromagnetic properties, which scientists are only beginning to understand? Now let's travel halfway around the world to Peru, where the enigmatic Nazca lines stretch across the arid plains. Spanning hundreds of miles, these massive geoglyphs depict animals, plants, and geometric patterns. But here's the kicker. They can only be fully appreciated from the air. From the ground, they look like random trenches. So how did an ancient civilization, supposedly incapable of flight, design, and execute such precise, large-scale drawings? Some argue they were ceremonial pathways or astrological maps, but others propose a more radical theory. Were the Nazca lines created as landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors? It sounds absurd, until you consider that the line's smooth surfaces and straight paths bear a striking resemblance to modern runways. Add to this the nearby ruins of ancient settlements with depictions of what some claim are humanoid figures wearing helmets, and the theory doesn't seem so far-fetched. Then there's Pumapunku in Bolivia, part of the larger Tiwanaku archaeological complex. This site challenges every assumption about the capabilities of ancient societies. The stones at Pumapunku are not only massive, some weighing up to 100 tons, but they're also cut with laser-like precision, featuring perfectly straight edges, intricate interlocking designs, and tiny drill holes. Modern engineers admit they would struggle to replicate these cuts today, even with diamond-tipped tools. And yet, according to mainstream timelines, Pumapunku was constructed by a pre-Inca culture using rudimentary tools made of stone and bronze. Let that sink in. How does a society with no written language, no evidence of advanced metallurgy, and no machinery create something so impossibly precise? The answer, some believe, lies in the technology. Either the builders possessed tools far beyond what we attribute to their time, or they had help. Help from beings who brought advanced knowledge, tools, or perhaps even the raw materials themselves. But Pumapunku isn't the only site that raises these questions. Across the globe, we find other megalithic marvels that seem to defy logic. Stonehenge in England, where massive stones were transported over 150 miles and erected in a way that aligns perfectly with the solstices. Baalbek in Lebanon, home to the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, one of the largest stones ever quarried, weighing over 1,000 tons. How were these stones moved, lifted, and placed without modern cranes or heavy machinery? And let's not forget Easter Island, where the Moai statues, giant stone heads, some with bodies buried underground, stand as silent sentinels. Their construction and transportation remain a mystery, especially when you consider that the island's inhabitants had no known advanced tools or beasts of burden. In every corner of the world, these ancient monuments challenge the narrative of human history. They suggest one of two possibilities: that ancient humans were far more advanced than we give them credit for, or that they received help from an external source, one that brought knowledge, tools, or perhaps even inspiration from the stars. So, ask yourself, are these structures merely the product of human ingenuity, or are they evidence of something more? Something that points to a hidden chapter of our past, a chapter that might explain not only these monuments but the true origins of humanity itself. And this is just the beginning. The deeper we dig, the more questions arise. What secrets lie buried beneath these ancient sites? What stories do they tell about who, or what, was here before us? Let's start with the undeniable. Across the globe, monuments stand as testaments to the ingenuity, or perhaps the intervention, of the ancients. These structures weren't just built to endure the elements, they were built to defy explanation. And the deeper you look, the more they suggest something extraordinary. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example. At first glance, it's a marvel of engineering. But dig deeper and its mysteries multiply. It was constructed with over 2 million blocks of stone, each weighing between 2.5 and 70 tons. Somehow, these stones were quarried, transported, and assembled with a precision that modern architects struggle to replicate. The pyramid's alignment to true north is so exact that it's off by a mere fraction of a degree, more precise than most modern buildings. How did the ancient Egyptians achieve this? Mainstream theories suggest ramps and ropes, but there's a problem. No evidence of these massive ramps exists. And even if they did, calculations suggest they would have required more material than the pyramid itself. Some researchers have speculated that advanced tools or technologies were at play, technologies we don't understand, or technologies that weren't of this world. But the pyramid's secrets don't stop there. Some theorists suggest it wasn't just a tomb, it was a machine. Inside, the structure contains narrow shafts that align with specific stars, suggesting a possible function as a celestial observatory. Others point to its unique composition and location on Earth, theorizing it might have been an ancient power plant, harnessing natural electromagnetic energy. Could this be the reason it stood for thousands of years while other structures crumbled? Now let's shift to South America, to a site that challenges everything we know about ancient construction. Pumapunku. Located high in the Andes Mountains, this site is scattered with enormous blocks of stone, some weighing more than 100 tons. What makes these stones so extraordinary isn't just their size, it's their precision. They're carved with laser-like accuracy, featuring perfectly straight cuts and drilled holes that seem almost machined. Mainstream archaeologists attribute Pumapunku to the Tiwanaku people, who lived around 500 CE. But here's the mystery. The Tiwanaku lacked the tools to cut stone, let alone with this level of precision. Some believe the answer lies in lost technologies, tools of an advanced human civilization. Others argue these tools weren't human at all. Could extraterrestrial visitors have provided the knowledge or even the machinery to create these intricate works? Then there's the Nazca lines in Peru. Massive geoglyphs of animals, plants, and geometric shapes etched into the desert floor. They span miles and are only fully visible from above. To this day, no one knows their true purpose. Were they an ancient form of communication, ritualistic art, or, as some theorists propose, landing strips or messages for extraterrestrial beings? In 2018, pilots reported mysterious UFO sightings near the Nazca region, glowing orbs of light that seemed to defy physics. Is it a coincidence that these sightings happened in the same area as the Nazca lines? Or could it suggest a connection between these ancient markings and modern extraterrestrial activity? And what about Stonehenge in England? This iconic circle of massive stones is shrouded in mystery. Each stone weighs up to 25 tons and was transported from quarries over 150 miles away, without the wheel. The structure is aligned with the solstices, functioning as a sophisticated astronomical calendar. But how was this achieved, and why? Even more intriguing is the discovery of magnetic anomalies within the stones, suggesting they may have been chosen for their unique properties. Some theorists speculate Stonehenge wasn't just a calendar. It might have been a device for harnessing or channeling energy. Could it have been part of a global network of energy sites connecting ancient civilizations across continents? These are just a handful of examples, and yet the pattern is clear. These monuments aren't just relics of the past, they're riddles begging to be solved. They defy the tools, knowledge, and capabilities of the people credited with building them. So we must ask, were these truly the achievements of human ingenuity, or were they something more? If humanity had outside help, the evidence would be written in stone, quite literally. But if these sites are remnants of an advanced human civilization, it raises an even bigger question: what happened to them? The monuments themselves may hold the answers. But to unlock their secrets, we must first decide what's more plausible: that ancient humans achieved the impossible, or that they didn't achieve it alone. Ancient texts and the gods from the stars. Monuments aren't the only clues left behind by ancient civilizations. Their myths, texts, and oral traditions provide us with tantalizing glimpses into their worldview, one that repeatedly points to a connection between the heavens and earth. Across continents and cultures, ancient peoples wrote of gods descending from the skies, wielding unimaginable power, and granting humanity the tools of civilization. Were these merely allegorical tales, or were they describing encounters with advanced beings? The story begins in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Here, the Sumerians, the first known society to develop writing, recorded stories about the Anunnaki, deities who descended from the heavens to shape human destiny. The Sumerians didn't just describe these beings as gods, they portrayed them as physically present entities, depicted in their artwork and texts. The Anunnaki, according to Sumerian tablets, came to Earth in search of gold, a resource they valued immensely. Some theorists, like Zecharia Sitchin, suggest these beings may have been extraterrestrials who needed gold to repair their planet's atmosphere, using advanced technology to mine it. If true, this raises an unsettling possibility. Were humans created or genetically modified to serve as a workforce for these beings? The parallels don't stop there. Thousands of miles away, in India, the ancient Vedic texts describe the Vimanas, flying chariots used by gods and heroes. These weren't mere poetic symbols, they were described with technical specificity, detailing their dimensions, propulsion systems, and weaponry. One text, the Samarangana Sutradhara, even outlines how to construct a Vimana, describing materials and mechanics. Even more astonishing are the descriptions of ancient wars in the Mahabharata and Ramayana. These epic battles involved weapons that caused blinding explosions, radioactive fallout, and massive devastation. One passage describes a weapon that unleashed an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 10,000 suns, and corpses burned beyond recognition. Does this sound like the product of imagination, or the memory of advanced technology? Meanwhile, in Egypt, the hieroglyphs of the Temple of Seti A in Abydos depict objects that seem eerily familiar to modern eyes, what appear to be a helicopter, a plane, and even a submarine. While mainstream scholars dismiss this as coincidental erosion or misinterpretation, Theorists argue these images could represent technological knowledge passed down from an earlier age, or shared by beings not of this earth. The Bible too contains its share of mysterious accounts. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet describes a vision of a wheel within a wheel descending from the heavens, surrounded by fire and lights. Some interpret this as a divine encounter, while others suggest Ezekiel was attempting to describe a spacecraft in the only terms available to him. Consider also the legends of the Hopi people, who speak of the Star People, a race of beings who came to Earth to teach humanity. The Dogon tribe of Mali tell of Denomo, advanced beings who came from the Sirius star system. What's remarkable about the Dogon is their detailed knowledge of Sirius B, a companion star invisible to the naked eye, which wasn't officially discovered by modern astronomy until the 19th century. How did they know about it? These stories share a striking consistency: gods, beings, or entities descending from the sky, imparting knowledge and shaping human history. Were these just imaginative myths, created to explain the inexplicable, or did they document actual events, encounters with beings of extraordinary power and intelligence? One of the most provocative theories suggests that many of these gods weren't divine at all, but rather advanced beings from another world. Consider how a modern airplane or smartphone would appear to someone living thousands of years ago. Would they not describe it as magical or godlike? If extraterrestrial beings visited ancient civilizations, their technology would have been indistinguishable from divine power. But there's another possibility, one that's equally compelling. What if these stories are echoes of a forgotten time when humans themselves achieved godlike abilities? A time when advanced civilizations walked the earth, mastering flight, energy, and engineering, only to be lost to catastrophe. Could these myths and texts be distorted memories of humanity's own achievements, passed down through generations? The Anunnaki, the Vimanas, the gods of Egypt and Greece, and even the biblical angels, are they all describing the same phenomenon through different cultural lenses? And if so, what does this tell us about our shared history? The truth is hidden in plain sight, encoded in ancient texts and symbols. But unlocking their meaning requires us to ask the uncomfortable questions mainstream scholars won't. Were the gods of antiquity real beings, and if so, what were they? Alien visitors? Survivors of a lost advanced civilization? Or something else entirely? Throughout history, humanity has preserved its greatest mysteries in the form of myths, legends, and sacred texts. But what if these stories weren't just allegories? What if they were records, distorted over time, of real encounters with beings far beyond our understanding? Let's start with the Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations, emerging around 4500 BCE in Mesopotamia. Their cuneiform tablets, the oldest known form of writing, describe the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens. According to these texts, the Anunnaki didn't just watch over humanity, they actively shaped our development. They taught us agriculture, astronomy, and metallurgy. But their involvement wasn't purely benevolent. The text suggests the Anunnaki had an agenda: to extract gold, a resource they allegedly needed to repair their own planet's atmosphere. This raises a provocative question. Why does gold hold such universal importance? From the ornate temples of ancient Egypt to the golden idols of the Americas, this metal has been revered across cultures for millennia. Could this obsession be a memory of a time when gold served a practical purpose, for beings not of this earth? The Sumerian tablets also contain descriptions that sound eerily modern. One tablet recounts a celestial chariot that glows with fire, emitting thunderous noise and immense heat as it lands. To ancient humans, this might have been interpreted as divine. To us, it sounds like technology, possibly a spacecraft. Now, let's move east to India, where the Vedic texts, some of the oldest scriptures in the world, tell a similarly extraordinary tale. The Mahabharata and Ramayana describe flying machines called Vimanas. These weren't vague metaphors, they were detailed accounts, complete with descriptions of propulsion systems and weaponry. One passage describes a weapon that produces columns of smoke and flame, blinding flashes of light, and winds so devastating they turned the ground to ash. Another tells of a war fought in the sky with chariots that could travel from Earth to the stars. To skeptics, these descriptions are dismissed as poetic exaggerations. But to those who believe in ancient alien contact, they're compelling evidence that humanity once interacted with beings who possessed advanced technology. Egyptian texts add another layer to the mystery. Hieroglyphs depict gods with elongated skulls, holding what appear to be powerful tools or devices. The most famous example is the Dendera light, a series of carvings that seem to show giant light bulbs. The mainstream explanation is that these carvings represent lotus flowers and snakes. But is it possible they depict something more? Perhaps technology brought by beings the Egyptians revered as gods? Even the Bible, one of the most widely studied texts in history, contains passages that spark intrigue. Consider Ezekiel's vision, where he describes a wheel within a wheel, surrounded by fire and brilliant lights, descending from the heavens. Scholars interpret this as a symbolic vision, but to ancient astronaut theorists, it's a textbook description of a spacecraft. Then there are the mysterious beings known as angels. In the Bible, they often descend from the sky, bringing knowledge, warnings, or divine intervention. Is it possible these messengers were not supernatural beings, but extraterrestrials using technology to appear divine to early humans? This pattern repeats across cultures. The Dogon tribe in West Africa, for example, has an ancient oral tradition describing visitors from the star system Sirius. The Dogon knew Sirius B, a companion star invisible to the naked eye, existed long before modern telescopes confirmed it. How did they gain this knowledge? In Native American lore, the Hopi speak of the Star People, beings who came to Earth to guide humanity. Similarly, the Aboriginal people of Australia tell of the Wandjina, celestial beings who created the world and are depicted with elongated heads and glowing halos. And then there's the global flood myth, a story that appears in nearly every culture, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the Bible's tale of Noah. These stories often involve advanced beings warning humanity of impending disaster. Could this be a record of extraterrestrial intervention, saving a select group to ensure the survival of our species? But here's the most tantalizing question. If these stories are based on real encounters, why do they all follow such similar patterns? Why do so many cultures describe beings descending from the sky, bringing knowledge, and wielding technology beyond human comprehension? The skeptics argue that these are just archetypes, shared human stories born of our need to explain the unknown. But what if they're more? What if the gods of myth and legend were actually visitors from the stars? Or perhaps the truth is even stranger. What if these beings weren't extraterrestrial at all, but survivors of an advanced human civilization, one so far ahead of its time that their return would appear godlike to our ancestors? These ancient texts and myths don't just tell stories, they leave us clues. Clues that suggest humanity's history is far more complex and far more extraordinary than we've ever imagined. Now let's follow the trail of evidence beyond the myths and monuments and into the heart of the ancient alien theory. If extraterrestrials did visit Earth in the distant past, wouldn't there be signs? The answer may lie in the countless accounts and artifacts that suggest a connection between humanity and beings from the stars. In the 1960s, Swiss author Erich von Däniken popularized the ancient alien hypothesis in his book Chariots of the Gods. He proposed that many ancient structures and artifacts were either inspired by or directly created with extraterrestrial intervention. At the time, von Däniken's ideas were dismissed as fringe conspiracy theories. But decades later, his work has sparked a global movement and inspired millions to question mainstream history. One of his most provocative examples comes from the Dogon tribe in West Africa. The Dogon have long spoken of beings called the Nomo, who descended from the sky and shared knowledge of the Sirius star system. The Dogon's knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye until it was confirmed by telescopes in the 20th century, defies explanation. How could an isolated tribe possess such advanced astronomical understanding? Another compelling example is found in Mayan artwork. Numerous carvings and artifacts depict figures seated in what appear to be advanced machines. The most famous is the sarcophagus lid of the Mayan ruler Pakal the Great. To mainstream archaeologists, it's a depiction of Pakal descending into the underworld. But to ancient alien theorists, it looks strikingly like a man piloting a spacecraft, complete with controls, exhaust flames, and a breathing apparatus. The parallels between ancient accounts and modern UFO phenomena are even harder to ignore. Throughout history, cultures have reported sightings of unidentified flying objects. Medieval paintings show glowing discs in the sky. Roman historian Livy wrote of shields in the sky during battles. And ancient Chinese texts describe dragons that move through the heavens with brilliant lights. Modern sightings are eerily similar. In 1947, the infamous Roswell incident brought UFOs into the public consciousness when a mysterious craft allegedly crashed in New Mexico. Since then, reports of unidentified aerial phenomenons, have skyrocketed, including those acknowledged by the U.S. government in recent years. But here's the question no one seems to ask. If UFOs exist now, what's to say they haven't been visiting for thousands of years? Consider the 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg, Germany. Witnesses reported a battle in the sky involving glowing orbs, cylinders, and crosses. Mainstream historians chalk it up to religious hysteria, but the descriptions are uncannily similar to modern accounts of extraterrestrial phenomena. Even the U.S. government's declassified UFO files hint at something extraordinary. In 2020, the Pentagon released footage of tic-tac-shaped craft performing maneuvers beyond any known human technology. Could these modern encounters be connected to the same beings who visited our ancestors? Now let's examine artifacts that suggest direct contact with extraterrestrials. The Dropa stones, discovered in China in the 1930s, are circular discs etched with tiny hieroglyphs. According to translations, these inscriptions describe beings who crash-landed on Earth 12,000 years ago and were unable to return to their home planet. The stones have since disappeared, leading to speculation about a deliberate cover-up. And then there's the Baghdad Battery, a 2,000-year-old artifact that appears to function as a primitive electrical device. To skeptics, it's an accidental discovery. But to theorists, it could be evidence of extraterrestrial knowledge shared with ancient humans. Could extraterrestrial visitors have seeded humanity with knowledge, only to leave or be forgotten? And if so, why did they come in the first place? Some theorists suggest they were explorers, seeking to study Earth and its inhabitants. Others propose they saw potential in early humans and decided to guide our evolution. But there's another possibility. One that's far more unsettling. What if their presence wasn't purely altruistic? What if they came to exploit Earth's resources, as the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki suggest? The clues are everywhere, scattered across ancient texts, inexplicable artifacts, and modern sightings. But the one thing they all share is the implication that humanity's story is far from ordinary. If extraterrestrial beings have been watching us, guiding us, or even manipulating us for millennia, what does that say about who we are and where we're headed? The alien connection isn't just a theory. It's a puzzle with pieces that span centuries and continents. And as we uncover more, the picture that emerges is one of profound mystery and extraordinary possibilities. The case for forgotten advanced civilizations. Not all of humanity's mysteries point to the stars. Some suggest that the answers to our greatest questions lie right here on Earth, hidden beneath the oceans, buried under layers of sediment, or erased by time. What if the extraordinary feats of the ancients weren't guided by extraterrestrials, but achieved by human civilizations so advanced they rivaled or even surpassed our own? The idea of a forgotten golden age, a time when humanity reached unimaginable heights before being brought to ruin, has persisted across cultures. Plato's account of Atlantis is perhaps the most famous example. He described a technologically advanced society with vast knowledge of engineering, agriculture, and navigation. But in a single day and night, Atlantis was consumed by the sea, leaving only myths behind. For centuries, Atlantis was dismissed as allegory. But recent discoveries suggest there may be truth to the legend. In 2001, underwater structures resembling man-made ruins were discovered off the coast of India's Gulf of Cambay. Carbon dating of artifacts suggests the site could be over 9,000 years old, predating the earliest known civilizations. If this is true, what other advanced societies might have been lost beneath the waves? Another site that defies explanation is Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Dated to around 12,000 years ago, this ancient temple was constructed by a society that, according to mainstream history, should have only been capable of basic survival. Yet Göbekli Tepe features massive, intricately carved stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons. What's more baffling is that it was deliberately buried around 8000 BCE, as if its creators wanted to preserve it for future generations. How could hunter-gatherers with no known tools or writing systems have built such a sophisticated structure? One theory is that Göbekli Tepe represents the remnants of a forgotten civilization that survived a cataclysm and sought to preserve its knowledge. Speaking of cataclysms, let's turn to the Younger Dryas period, a time of abrupt climate change that began around 12,800 years ago. Evidence suggests this period was triggered by a comet impact that caused widespread fires, flooding, and a rapid cooling of the Earth. This event coincides with global flood myths, including the story of Noah's Ark, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Hindu accounts of a great deluge. Could the Younger Dryas impact have been the event that wiped out a thriving advanced civilization, leaving behind only scattered survivors to rebuild from scratch? The evidence is compelling. Scientists have found shocked quartz, microscopic diamonds, and other materials consistent with a comet strike, materials concentrated in regions where ancient legends speak of floods and devastation. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old device discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. This intricate mechanism could calculate astronomical positions with astonishing precision. For centuries, it was believed that such technology didn't exist until the 14th century. If a device this advanced existed in antiquity, what other technologies might have been lost to history? Consider the construction techniques of the ancient world. Roman concrete, for instance, was so durable that it has withstood 2,000 years of exposure to the elements. Modern scientists are only now beginning to understand its composition and replicate it. Similarly, Damascus steel, used to create legendary swords in the Middle Ages, was a metallurgical marvel, its secrets lost when production mysteriously ceased. These aren't just anomalies, they're breadcrumbs, suggesting that humanity's technological journey may have been interrupted, or reset, at some point in the distant past. Even in the Americas, clues point to forgotten civilizations. The Olmecs, who predated the Maya, left behind colossal stone heads weighing up to 50 tons. How they transported and carved these monoliths remains a mystery. And in the Amazon rainforest, satellite imagery has revealed geometric earthworks hidden beneath the canopy, evidence of large, complex societies that thrived long before Europeans arrived. If humanity has reached such heights before, what brought it all crashing down? Was it a comet strike, a volcanic eruption, or a rapid shift in climate? Or could it have been something more deliberate, perhaps a war or a collapse from within? The idea of advanced civilizations isn't just speculation. It's supported by the very evidence we've uncovered, evidence that doesn't fit neatly into the timeline of history we've been taught. And here's the most tantalizing possibility. If these civilizations existed, could their knowledge have survived in some form? Hidden in myths, encoded in ancient monuments, or perhaps even passed down through secret societies? The case for forgotten advanced civilizations forces us to rethink the history of our species. It suggests that humanity is not just a story of progress, but a cycle of rise, fall, and rediscovery. And it leaves us with one haunting question: if we've fallen before, could it happen again? If the evidence of ancient aliens and forgotten civilizations is so compelling, why doesn't it occupy a central place in our history books? Why are these ideas so often dismissed, ridiculed, or suppressed? The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. There may be forces at work determined to keep the truth hidden. Let's start with the Vatican. Within its vast archives, guarded by impenetrable walls and layers of secrecy, lies knowledge that spans millennia. Some researchers believe the Vatican holds ancient texts, artifacts, and even extraterrestrial evidence that could rewrite history. Why else would one of the most powerful institutions on Earth guard its archives so fiercely, allowing access to only a select few? Consider this. Many early accounts of alien encounters and advanced civilizations are intertwined with religious stories. The Anunnaki of Mesopotamia, the Nephilim in the Bible, and the gods of Olympus. Could these be different interpretations of the same events? If so, does revealing the truth challenge the foundations of faith itself? Then there's the Smithsonian Institution. Allegations have long swirled that the Smithsonian actively destroyed or hid evidence of giants, massive human skeletons unearthed in North America. Newspapers in the 1800s reported numerous discoveries of skeletons measuring 9 to 12 feet tall, often buried in elaborate tombs. These findings could support theories of an advanced pre-human race or a forgotten chapter of human history. Yet these artifacts allegedly vanished, with skeptics suggesting they were destroyed to protect the prevailing narrative of human evolution. And what about modern governments? For decades, governments around the world have been accused of covering up evidence of UFOs and extraterrestrial contact. The United States is at the center of these claims, with Area 51 becoming synonymous with secrecy. In 1947, the Roswell incident became the defining moment for UFO conspiracy theories. Witnesses claimed to have seen the wreckage of a spacecraft, and even alien bodies. The U.S. military first announced it had recovered a flying disc, only to retract the statement, insisting it was a weather balloon. But why the sudden reversal? Documents declassified years later suggest the military knew much more than they admitted. Fast forward to recent years, and the Pentagon's acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomenons, unidentified aerial phenomena, has reignited public interest. In 2018, videos captured by Navy pilots showed objects moving at incredible speeds, performing maneuvers beyond known human technology. Why, after decades of denial, has the government started releasing this information now? Is it a slow drip of disclosure, or an attempt to control the narrative? There's also the question of secret societies. The Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the Illuminati have long been linked to hidden knowledge and ancient secrets. Some believe these groups possess esoteric wisdom passed down from advanced civilizations or extraterrestrial visitors. Could they be the keepers of humanity's true history, guarding it until the world is ready, or using it for their own gain? The control of information isn't limited to ancient history. In recent years, whistleblowers like Edward Snowden have exposed the extent to which governments monitor and manipulate information. If modern technology allows for such tight control over the flow of knowledge, imagine what could have been hidden or erased in centuries past. Even academia is not immune to bias and suppression. Researchers who challenge mainstream narratives often face ridicule, career sabotage, or loss of funding. Graham Hancock, a prominent advocate for the theory of lost advanced civilizations, has faced intense criticism from the academic community. But why is there such hostility toward alternative theories? Is it simply skepticism, or is there a concerted effort to protect the status quo? Let's not forget the role of the media. Throughout history, media outlets have been used to shape public perception, whether through propaganda, censorship, or selective reporting. Today, as more people question official narratives, the media often dismisses alternative theories as conspiracy. But is that skepticism genuine, or is it a tactic to discredit inconvenient truths? All of this raises an unsettling possibility. If there is a concerted effort to hide the truth, it's not just about preserving historical narratives. It's about power. Knowledge is power, and those who control it control the world. If humanity were to discover proof of extraterrestrial visitors or lost civilizations, it would upend everything: our understanding of history, religion, science, and even our place in the universe. The question isn't just what is being hidden, but why. Are governments afraid of mass panic? Are institutions protecting their authority? Or is the truth so revolutionary that it threatens the very fabric of society? The conspiracy deepens with every unanswered question, every missing artifact, and every declassified document that hints at more than it reveals. If the truth is out there, it's clear that someone, or something, is determined to keep it buried. For every compelling piece of evidence supporting the theories of ancient aliens or advanced civilizations, there are skeptics ready to tear them apart. These skeptics argue that humanity's achievements, no matter how extraordinary, can be explained by ingenuity, persistence, and the gradual accumulation of knowledge. But even skepticism raises questions. Is it rooted in objective inquiry, or a desire to maintain the status quo? Let's begin with the ancient alien theory. Skeptics argue that attributing humanity's accomplishments to extraterrestrials diminishes our ancestors' intelligence and creativity. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, has been studied exhaustively by archaeologists, who propose that its construction was achieved through clever engineering and brute labor. They point to wooden sledges, ramps, and the coordination of thousands of workers. But this explanation leaves gaps. Why are there no definitive remains of the massive ramps supposedly required to move multi-ton stones? How did the builders achieve such precise alignment to true north without advanced tools? And why do ancient texts often describe assistance from gods descending from the heavens? Skeptics claim coincidence or symbolic storytelling, but does this truly account for the depth of these accounts? The same skepticism applies to the Nazca lines. Critics argue that they were ceremonial pathways or astronomical markers created by simple tools and careful planning. But why were they designed to be visible only from the air? Skeptics dismiss the idea of ancient flight or extraterrestrial interaction as pure fantasy, but they struggle to explain how such an isolated culture achieved something so grand with no clear practical purpose. When it comes to the idea of lost advanced civilizations, skeptics insist that history follows a linear trajectory. They argue that any apparent anomalies, such as the advanced precision of Pumapunku or the complexity of the Antikythera mechanism, are isolated innovations, not evidence of a forgotten golden age. For example, Göbekli Tepe is often explained as the work of an organized group of hunter-gatherers transitioning toward agricultural society. Skeptics suggest that its construction marked the beginning of human experimentation with monumental architecture, rather than the remnants of an earlier advanced culture. But this explanation sidesteps the question: how did people with no farming or metallurgy suddenly master such sophisticated engineering? Skeptics also argue that the Younger Dryas cataclysm, while a significant event, didn't wipe out advanced civilizations because none existed at the time. They contend that any similarities in flood myths are the result of shared human experiences with natural disasters, not evidence of a single global catastrophe. One of the most vocal criticisms of these theories is the lack of hard evidence. No definitive alien artifacts, advanced tools, or technologies have been found that can't be explained within the context of human history. Even enigmatic artifacts like the Baghdad Battery or the Dropa stones, which suggest advanced knowledge, are often dismissed as either misunderstood or outright hoaxes. But here's where skepticism takes a conspiratorial turn. Many argue that the absence of evidence isn't proof of absence, it's proof of suppression. Theories of government cover-ups, missing artifacts, and deliberate disinformation campaigns fuel the belief that the truth is being hidden. Skeptics dismiss these claims as paranoia, but the sheer number of alleged cases, missing skeletons, vanished texts, and classified UFO files makes it harder to ignore. Mainstream historians and scientists often reject alternative theories as pseudoscience or fantasy. They point to a lack of peer-reviewed studies and rigorous methodology. But what if the system itself is designed to favor conventional explanations? What if challenging the status quo is met with resistance not because it's wrong, but because it threatens entrenched institutions? In the end, skepticism isn't just a counter-argument, it's part of the mystery. Why are some so quick to dismiss ideas that challenge our understanding of history? Is it simply a devotion to evidence and reason, or is it a reluctance to confront the possibility that everything we know might be wrong? Even the skeptics must concede one thing. Humanity's past is filled with gaps, unanswered questions, and anomalies that don't fit neatly into the narrative. Whether you believe in ancient aliens, advanced civilizations, or simply the brilliance of our ancestors, one thing is certain: there's more to the story than we've been told. And perhaps, the greatest mystery of all isn't whether aliens or lost civilizations existed. It's why the truth, whatever it may be, remains so elusive. So where does all of this leave us? Are the extraordinary achievements of our ancestors the result of extraterrestrial intervention, evidence of a forgotten human golden age, or simply the ingenuity of early civilizations that we still don't fully understand? The answer, it seems, lies somewhere between the myths and the evidence, between the skeptics and the believers. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a silent sentinel, challenging us to explain its impossible precision. The Nazca lines stretch across the Peruvian desert, their purpose still cloaked in mystery. Göbekli Tepe rises from the sands of Turkey, defying our understanding of early humanity. These monuments aren't just relics. They're questions carved in stone, etched into the earth, daring us to look closer. And what about the stories? From the Sumerian Anunnaki to the Vedic Vimanas, from Ezekiel's fiery wheel to the Hopi's star people, these ancient texts and oral traditions all share a haunting similarity. They speak of beings from above, gods, travelers, or something in between, who brought knowledge, shaped humanity, and then disappeared, leaving behind only whispers of their existence. Modern science gives us tools to unravel these mysteries, yet even with all our advancements, we can't fully explain them. Every discovery raises more questions than answers. The Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad battery, the inexplicable precision of Puma Punku. These are fragments of a puzzle that refuses to fit within the confines of mainstream history. So, are we the children of the stars? Were we shaped by beings far beyond our comprehension? Or are we the survivors of a forgotten age, rediscovering the heights our ancestors once reached? The truth is, we may never know for certain, but that's precisely what makes these questions so captivating. They push us to think, to imagine, and to challenge the narratives we've been taught. Because if even one of these theories holds a grain of truth, it would rewrite everything: our understanding of history, our place in the universe, and the very nature of what it means to be human. The mysteries of our past aren't just stories of what came before. They're mirrors, reflecting who we are now and where we might be headed. They force us to confront the possibility that we are part of a much larger story, one that spans the stars and stretches far deeper into the past than we've dared to imagine. And yet, for all the evidence, for all the clues, one question remains: why is the truth so elusive? Are we not looking hard enough? Or is it being deliberately hidden? If we could uncover the whole picture, would we even be ready to accept what it reveals? Perhaps the answers are waiting for us, in the ruins of forgotten civilizations, in the ancient texts we've yet to decode, or in the stars themselves. This journey has been about more than theories. It's about curiosity, wonder, and the pursuit of knowledge. Whether you lean toward ancient aliens, advanced civilizations, or human ingenuity, the real power lies in asking the questions. Because the more we ask, the closer we come to the truth. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the truth, no matter how deeply it's buried, has a way of revealing itself to those who seek it. So, what do you think? Did aliens walk among us? Did humanity rise, fall, and rise again, erasing its own history in the process? Or is the story of our past more complex and extraordinary than we can even imagine? The answers are out there. The question is, are we ready to find them?